Hi, everybody, and welcome to another Joseph Morris video. If you're new here, I am a case discussion channel. So if that's for you, please hit the subscribe button below and ring the bell so you never miss a video. And do not forget to press like on this video. It really helps out my channel a lot. Today, we will be discussing the Josh Duggar case. So a fair trigger warning, I will be talking about crimes against children. So please be warned. In 2004, the Discovery Channel introduced us to a quirky family from Arkansas. At the time, Jim, Bob, and Michelle Duggar had 14 children and one on the way. During this time, they were being featured in an hour-long documentary called 14 Children and Counting, where the documentary tried to shed light on the logistics of running such an enormous family. In what would become their signature way of introducing themselves, the children all stood in a line, and one by one, the camera went down the line and each of these kids said their name, beginning with the eldest child, none other than Joshua Duggar, or whom they called Josh.
Some families are smaller and some are larger. Some are quite a bit larger. Some just seem to keep growing and growing. Ladies and gentlemen, meet the Duggars.
My name is Joshua Duggar.
With a plaid blue shirt and a clean-cut appearance, Josh Duggar was the crown jewel of the Duggar family. He was what they were trying to portray to the world, a wholesome, all-American Christian boy with great family values. Or so we thought. In fact, the Duggars spent the past 2 decades trying to portray themselves as a family America should try to emulate. Jim Bob made a foray into politics in the late 1990s, serving in the Arkansas state legislature, while Michelle worked on the family's image, accepting Arkansas's Young Mother of the Year award in the early 2000s. And so when reality television producers came knocking on the Duggar family door, the family took it as an opportunity to not only earn extra income for the huge family they have and all the diapers and food that they would need to consume, but also as a way for them to spread their family values. In fact, this is what they have written on their blog, DuggarFamily.com. They write, "Our desire in opening our home to the world has been to make Christ known and to share Bible principles that are answers for life's problems. However, as we soon found out in their quest for fame, fortune, and to be a spiritual example for the rest of America, they accomplished the exact opposite. Their hubris made them oblivious to the reality that it was hypocritical of them to preach family values to the masses while they hid a predator behind their doors." Because what we now know is that even before that 2004 documentary on the Discovery Channel, they knew that there was problems with Josh, and they still made him the spotlight, the crown jewel of the Duggar family. In April 2021, Josh, now 33, was arrested by U.S. Marshals in Arkansas and charged with receiving and possessing child crime images. During the trial, Homeland Security Officer Gerald Faulkner said that there were over 200 images of children, some younger than 18 months, found on his device, and it was some of the most graphic and violent and depraved imagery he has ever seen, at least in the top 5. And this guy is a seasoned professional. And on Thursday, a jury in Fayetteville found him guilty on 2 counts, and Josh Duggar is now facing 40 years in prison and counting. And in my opinion, the guy should at least serve a minimum life sentence for these crimes, because every time that image that he has been shared is re-victimizing these children again and again. During the trial, family friend Bobby Holt testified that the Duggars had known since 2003, before the family's first special on Discovery aired, that Josh S.A.'s children. In her testimony, Holt says that the then 15-year-old Josh admitted to touching 4 underage girls, who some speculate were his own sisters, on their chests, their private parts, and under their clothes. During another visit, Holt testified that he admitted to an SA with a 5-year-old girl with his fingers. So Holt's testimony actually goes hand in hand with an In Touch Weekly article from 2015. And what happened was that in 2006, Josh Duggar and the Duggar family were supposed to appear on the Oprah Winfrey Show, but an anonymous email came through that basically detailed Josh Duggar's previous incidents where he had altercations with underage girls. And when Harpo Studios found out about this, they immediately contacted Arkansas State Police, who conducted a formal investigation. And In Touch Weekly actually got a hold of all these articles, all these police reports through the Freedom of Information Act. And they wrote a huge article about it. And it basically aired out all the Duggar family's dirty laundry, didn't make them appear to be this clean-cut Christian, all-American family that they portrayed themselves to be, and actually showed that they have their own skeletons in their closet, where their very own crown jewel, Josh, is doing these heinous acts.
In December 2006, things nearly unraveled. With the family in Chicago and about to go on the Oprah Winfrey Show, someone leaked the story of Josh Duggar's behavior to Oprah's production company, writing in part, "You need to know the truth. They are not what they seem to be." Harpo Studios faxed the letter to authorities, and a police investigation was formally opened. According to the now revealed police reports, which as juvenile records were not subject to disclosure, a judge is dealing with that separately, the family told police that Josh had been inappropriate with 5 girls.
But unfortunately, because of the statute of limitations, 3 years has passed and the police couldn't press any charges. So essentially, Josh Duggar got away with it. I mean, his dad, who is running for Senate, didn't really reprimand him in any way. But after this, Josh Duggar stepped down from his position as an executive at the Family Research Council. And the Family Research Council promotes what they call to be family values. It opposes and lobbies against abortion, divorce, and LGBT rights. The Duggar family, however, began a public relations campaign, giving an exclusive 2-part interview to Fox News' Megyn Kelly. The first featuring Jim, Bob, and Michelle, and the second featuring 2 of Josh's sisters, Jessa Seawald and Jill Dillard. The sisters revealed that they were among Josh's victims, but said they forgave him. Okay, so this is the interview from 2015 where the Duggar family tried to spin this Josh narrative that was happening in popular culture at the time. And I found this interview very disturbing to watch because, more on that in a bit, but the sisters basically try to downplay the event where Josh Duggar was being a creep. And it's the same narrative that the parents also try to spin. It almost sounds like brainwashing. Just listen to it. It's pretty crazy.
In Josh's case, he was a young boy in puberty, and a little too curious about girls. And that got him into some trouble. And he made some bad choices. But really, the extent of it was mild, inappropriate touching on fully clothed victims. Most of it while girls were sleeping.
We didn't even know about it until he went and confessed it to my parents, and they shared it with us. No.
None of the victims were aware of what happened until Joshua confessed, and then
it wasn't like we were keeping a secret, afraid or something. It was we didn't know until Josh explained to my parents what his thought process was, what everything was.
Well, how did you learn about it? I mean, did your parents sit you down at a meeting, or what happened?
My parents took us aside individually, and they said, here's what's happened. And at that point, of course, you're like, oh, you're shocked, you know?
So your parents...
Wow. Knowing what we know now, I definitely feel like downplaying this was the wrong thing to do. Anyway, let's listen to what the parents also had to say, which is the same story. And it sounds like these young girls were fed that story through the parents.
One ray of hope, and that Josh had a tender conscience, and he was the one that came and shared on his own, even though the others really didn't know anything of his wrongdoing.
This is a young boy who has come to you with shocking information. What did he say? I mean, how did you respond to him? What was that like, that exchange?
There was so much grief in our hearts. I think as parents, we felt, oh, we're failures. You know, here we tried to raise our kids to do what's right, to know what's right. And yet, one of our children made some really bad choices. And I think as a parent, we were devastated.
Did he explain why? I mean, was that a question that you asked?
He said he was just curious about girls, and he had gone in and just basically touched them over their clothes while they were asleep, and they didn't even know he had done it.
Anyway, speaking of brainwashing, Josh Duggar's wife, Anna, stood by him throughout the entire trial that just took place, where he was basically found out to be downloading really depraved images of children being abused. And she basically stood by him. Yeah. And this is even after that he was found out to be on the Ashley Madison website, where it's adults seeking affairs with other women. He was one of the people that was on that huge leak of all their users, was none other than Josh Duggar, the guy who was on the Family Research Council advocating for family values and against divorce. Well, Anna, in this case, I would not be against divorce. So anyway, in the Megyn Kelly interview on Fox News, Jim, Bob, and Michelle told her that after Josh Duggar came to them and said, hey, I just did this to my sisters, they actually went to the police, and the police did absolutely nothing after months and months of waiting. I mean, at one point, they were even like scared about if someone was going to knock on their door and it would be the cops trying to take him away and charge him.
The bottom line is you went to a law enforcement official, you reported it. Josh told him what you say, he told him everything.
Everything.
5 victims.
In fact, we took a friend with us because we wanted to make sure that we had a witness that would that would verify that we had shared everything.
I know you've said that he gave Josh a stern lecture.
He did. What he did. I didn't know what he was going to do.
Fear of God in Josh.
Yes.
And
did he warn him that the law could come after him?
He said, and if you continue down this path, you're going to destroy your life, and you could end up in prison.
When that was over, and you think it's over, I assume. You thought
we didn't know. I mean, a few weeks went by, a few months went by, and
you're waiting, and when the doorbell's ringing, you're wondering whether someone's there to arrest him.
And then
anyway, yeah, Jim Bob did nothing, didn't follow up with the police, and now the foreshadowing of the cops saying if you don't fix yourself, you're going to go down a road and something bad's going to happen came true. And it is all because of Jim Bob not really reprimanding his child during this time and getting him the help that he needed. Instead, forced him into the spotlight. In 2008, they got their own series on TLC, 17 Kids and Counting, which ran for 8 years and 15 seasons. In the episode, Josh gets engaged. Both parents talked about the good Christian qualities of their eldest son, Josh, conveniently leaving out the pain he had been causing the family for several years.
Oh, it's beautiful. Saving that first kiss for your wedding day is like really special, and I hope that it inspires others to consider that as well.
I'm so excited.
Over the next few years, the Duggars empire continued to grow. They added 2 children to their already enormous family for a total of 19 kids. And Josh and Anna had their first baby, Mackenzie, in 2009. They now have 7 children, including a newborn. Their attitude seemed to imply that if they could move past Josh's sins, the rest of the world could too. But the Duggars couldn't keep the skeletons hidden in their closet forever. Soon enough, their Christian empire began to crumble, culminating in Josh's arrest. Josh was caught sharing inappropriate images of children using a peer-to-peer network application called uTorrent. On May 14th, his system made the first of 2 digital handshakes, not with another creep, but with Detective Amber Calmer of the Little Rock Police Department. Calmer was using a specialist police program called Torrential Downpour, which targets creeps by catching them in the act of sharing inappropriate images. Josh Duggar, thankfully, was found guilty by a jury and is facing 40 years in prison. He's currently being held in custody until his sentencing in 3 months. But I have a few questions. Why didn't the Duggars get Josh the help he needed way back in 2003? So if you knew that your family member was dealing with such intense darkness, why would you force him into the spotlight and sweep it all under the rug? Why would you preach about chastity, family values, faithfulness when you have these skeletons of your own in your closet? And why would the Duggar family make their children so well known that when the truth eventually did come to light, it would lead to this huge downfall? It's hard to answer any of these questions, and we've been asking them almost now for a decade, really. Like, why back in 2003 you knew Josh was suffering so badly and needed so much help to get through this? You forced him into 15 years of a television show. But what's even more incredible is that Jim, Bob, and Michelle are still seeking notoriety, fame, and more ways to evangelize their Christian lifestyle. In November, 7 months after Josh's arrest and just days before his trial began, Jim Bob, with Michelle by his side, announced that he was running for Arkansas Senate. And in a really tone-deaf sort of statement, he writes this: "The foundational principles that have made our nation great are under threat like never before." I mean, it's pretty obvious that Jim, Bob, and Michelle think they still have lessons they want to teach all of America with their evangelical Christian lifestyle. But the question is now, is anybody going to listen? What do you guys think of the crazy Josh Duggar trial? Sound off in the comments below. Don't forget to subscribe by hitting the subscribe button below. Ring the bell so you never miss a video. And do not forget to like my video. Thank you so much, guys, for joining in with me. And of course, I'm going to have to show Gabby. Thank you so much again for joining in and paying attention to this new style of video I'm doing where it's like up close and personal and like actually researched. So I hope you enjoyed it. Thank you so much, guys. Have a good night and stay safe out there. Love you all.